Hello and welcome. This is Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, we're going to do day 18 or the window 18 of the Spellbinders Crafty Advent Calendar. So every day this month, I'm opening up a window in the Spellbinders Crafty Advent Calendar and then creating a small project from it. So today, when I opened the day 18 window, we get this beautiful pack of beautiful blue sequins. So I'm going to make a really very simple holiday gift tag with it. I have a piece of cardstock that's going to match those sequins beautifully, and I'm using the Spellbinders Sparkling Snow 3D embossing folder, putting it through my Platinum 6 machine to emboss that paper. When I use 3D embossing folders to emboss, I like to mist both sides of the cardstock lightly with a distress sprayer so that that paper is soft and easily presses into all the nooks and crannies of that 3D embossing folder. So I set that aside to dry before going any further with that, and I'm taking the word banner dies from day 11, and I'm going to create a banner for this tag. Before I put my paper on there, I'm taking some Blueprint Sketch Distress pad and I'm inking that die. I want to have those words pop out a little bit more, and by inking that die, it makes it really easy to do that. The other way you could do that is just die cut and then ink your tag, and it would be an opposite effect, but this just makes those letters pop a little bit more. Once my embossed paper is cut, I'm cutting it down. I'm making sure it's at least wide enough for those word banner, or for that word banner. I want it a little bit wider than that, so I measured that first before I measured it down. An easy way to make a tag, if you don't already have a tag die, is just cut off one corner, flip it over to match the other side with it, and then cut that corner. And then cut a hole for a ribbon or some cord once you're done. Now, to make those snowflakes really pop, I'm taking some white pigment ink and I'm using a brayer, and I'm just lightly brayering over top. Now, I got a little bit on that background and I kind of liked the look. So that first one was a mistake. Every other time after that where I get a little bit on the background, it's kind of a bit intentional. I didn't mind having it on the back. I thought it looked kind of cool. It looked a little bit more organic or mixed media ish. Now with pigment ink, it takes a while to dry. Sometimes you can heat set it, but what I wanted to do was use some frosted crystal embossing powder over top of it and then emboss that. Frosted crystal embossing powder is like clear embossing powder, but it doesn't have a glossy finish. It has a frosty crystallized finish, hence the name. It looks a lot like the sugar on top of pastry, but it's really hard to see when it's embossed because it doesn't get that glossy look that glossy or regular embossing powder gets. So I like to emboss it probably a little bit longer than is really necessary to make sure that everything is completely embossed. And then I let that paper cool down a little bit. I took some Barely Art glue and glued down my word banner, and then I realized that I forgot a step that I had wanted to do. I wanted to take some of that Blueprint Sketch ink with a blending brush and ink around the edges just to get some depth and dimension. It's looking a little bit flat with it, so by inking the edges, it just adds a little bit of life to it. So when it comes to the bottom part of the tag, I'm trying to do just a tiny little bit and get very little on that word banner. It had already completely dried before I realized my mistake, so I didn't want to pull it off and wreck it, and I think it's just the right amount. I still get the nice white frosty snowflakes, but I get a little bit of shadow around there. If you wanted more, you could absolutely do more. I didn't want to compete too much with the sequins when I put them on. So I'm putting those sequins on the centers of some of the snowflakes. I'm not putting it on every single one, but a lot of them, especially the bigger ones. There's two different sizes of sequins in this pack, and I'm using the smaller size because the bigger size here is a little bit too big. There is a bigger snowflake 3D embossing folder. If you wanted to use the bigger ones, you could use that on it. I think these sequins would also be gorgeous as ornaments on a Christmas tree and even as little elements in a shaker card. They're just a beautiful blue color that has a really pretty kind of tealy, turquoisey glint to them. You can see it right in the camera. So I think it would be beautiful for so many different ways to use them. I have my Barely Art glue in a really finely tipped bottle, so I can get just a little dot in the center of each one of those snowflakes, and then I'm using some tweezers to help place those sequins. You can use your fingers, but it'll be a little bit harder to place them exactly. If you have a jewel picker, that would work as well. I know I have one somewhere, I just couldn't find it for this video, so this tweezers work just as well. Once I have as many sequins as I want on there, I can let that completely dry, and it creates just a really cute, very simple tag that you can create for pretty much any occasion. These ones would be perfect for winter simply because of the snowflakes, but you could do something with a different background and add some sequins for a little bit of shine, and it would be good for other occasions as well. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow for day 19.